Tony, you guys have essentially played half the ACC season without Justin. Yeah. As you guys have reflected, I don't know if you've crunched numbers, but where do you think his absence has been most felt?
Yeah, well, I think the perimeter shooting, he was really shooting the ball at a high clip, and so I think we've had a kind of struggle at times with that. But he brings a level of, he's just got that X factor. He gets the crowd going. He makes just a big play, whether it's a huge block or a big three that he's done for us, or just comes up with that hustle play that seems to ignite the team. He has that ability, and so I think we missed that a little bit. And I think the guys that stepped in and filled in have done a great job. I think Evan has not gotten enough credit for how steadying he's been. I mean, he really has. But Justin, as you guys have watched over the years, has that ability to move the crowd, move the team, and bring that intensity and that passion. That's just he's hardwired with, or it does for our team. It gives us that. So I think that's something that will be, I'm hopeful we get him back and we'll get to see that again, and even in practice. So, and he brings a level of physicality. He rebounded well this year. That is, you just look at him on his body, but that physicality has really helped us too. So, there are not too many clones of Justin that way. So that'll be nice to get back as well.
Tony, on the all defensive teams selected by the media, Malcolm and Darion made it. On the coaches team, Malcolm and Anthony. Because of the way the defense is and it relies on all five guys, is it hard then to go and kind of pick out who's playing well when it seems to depend on
Next
all
time I'm
five?
going to have Evan saying, why didn't I get picked for that? So I think, no, I think that's so happy for Darion being, a senior, and I believe he was recognized. There's a lot of polls here, but I believe he was recognized as or one of the players of the year, or co-player. I don't know if he was a single one for the – yeah. Okay, single. So that the media – I mean, the coaches one was shared with Malcolm and Krista. Okay, got it. And Anthony was on that. Okay, got it now. So, but that's great. But especially for Darion, as I was saying, and I kind of challenged him to be our defensive anchor, similar to Akil last year, and I think he did that. But it is really a system. It's a team defensive system. Guys won't look good unless all parts are working, and I do think Anthony really improved. You looked at his ball screen defense has gotten better, and all the guys have stepped up. Malcolm, as we've talked about a lot of times, has been matched up with the best perimeter player and really spread out and done a good job, but he's been able to do that because a lot of the guys behind him. So, when all the pieces are working well together, that's when we've been at our best. But to see some of these guys get some individual acknowledgement for their hard work is great. So I feel thankful for that, and to see that many people get mentioned, and I think it's a result. Shows you when those guys, when they play together, when a team has success, there's 5 or 6 guys that are getting recognition for different types of all-conference teams.
With Justin, what do you sort of expect from him when he comes back, after a long layoff like that, some rust?
Yeah. I know he'll bring, like I said, the intensity and the passion, and hard to say, just the timing with the appendectomy and all that wasn't great, but he was working hard and in pretty good fitness before that because he could do stuff with his legs. So I know he'll be excited to play. I know he'll bring excitement. Probably, when he gets back, shorter stints, I'm sure, of playing. And I'm obviously being hopeful. He's going to see the doctor tomorrow, see how things are going, and then, we'll progress and see where he's at. But he has been feeling better. But that's hard. It'll be 5. Let's see. So we have 4 weeks. I don't even know. Okay. He's been out a while, so there's a little bit of rust there. And I think that's where we always talk about your mind is important. Trying to let things come, which I think he's done a good job. He's better this year, but getting a feel for where things are at.
One of the writers told one of my colleagues here that Justin has been practicing this week.
No.
Practice today?
No, I mean he did some movement things today. He's going to he's going to go to the doctor tomorrow, and they're going to look at him. I mean, he did some shooting and light movement and all that, which I was surprised at, which was great, but he's got to get cleared to where he can, before he's going to be allowed to play and all that, he's got to withstand a hard, intense, practice where there's some up and down or half court and bumping and grinding and all that stuff.
Think he could play the first game, your first game?
I'll let you know if the doctors if they let him do some things. I want to see him like last in practice. I'm not ruling out anything because I don't know that I've heard stories with this where you can play in a week or it's a couple weeks. So it just it depends what he's cleared to do. But I'm hopeful he's going to play. If not the ACC tournament, then the NCAA tournament. That would be my hope. But I didn't sleep at a Holiday Inn Express last night either. So.
Psychologically, Tony, will you guys have any kind of a different approach for this postseason as opposed to last year? It seems like a lot of the people weren't quite sure what you guys were about. Now everybody in the country knows what you're about.
Yeah.
Any changes in that approach?
No. I mean, just you're into this. It's such an exciting time. This is special territory to be in. Obviously, the ACC tournament is so prestigious that I felt that when I got this job, or the first one I was in, what it was about. So there's just an air with it, and I think that the excitement and knowing, even seeing that Louisville game and realizing if you're not ready, it gets over pretty quick, and that's what postseason's about. Being as tight as you can and as ready as you can, and I think the approach, you have to take it up another notch. Every team, the intensity steps up. It's just like going from non-conference to conference. Now you're into ACC tournament play, postseason, it steps up. So I think our guys understand that that's where the experience is going to be important. And like I said, the sooner we can get all our guys healthy, that would be great. But there's a level of commitment that's going to be that I don't think it was there. I think we learned a valuable lesson against Louisville. I mean, our guys played hard, and that was a charged environment. But we've got to be better than that if we want to advance, and we understand that. And we've got to learn from that and be thankful for what it taught us. And we had a good hard practice today, and we'll keep preparing the right way for Clemson or Florida State, whoever it is.
Coach, a couple of the guys were saying that Darion had really taken on a leadership role this year. Is that something that you've seen? Was there a point along the way or an anecdote where you noticed, wow, Darion's really embraced this senior leadership type of aspect of things?
Yeah, I think Malcolm's been a terrific leader. I've talked about that. But I do think Darion has. I think there was a little bit of a feeling out period. He was, I think when he really started establishing himself, we started him, and he kind of became the guy that was in the starting lineup, and not that it's only about starting. I think he started gaining some confidence, having some good games offensively and defensively. I just sensed his confidence grow and the leadership you're talking about, being more vocal in practice. Seems like he kind of was at peace with himself. So I think so much of his career, it's why it's such a good story. It has been up and down. He hasn't gotten a lot. And then this year, when he really established himself, I think he settled in and realized, I can help this team. They need me. I think when a player understands, this team needs me to play at a high level for us to be really good, I think that does wonders for your sense of worth, your leadership, all those things. And I think that started happening. And I think I've seen him take more of a vocal role, being ready in practice, responding. You can just see that, and that's maturity. It really is. Sometimes it comes quicker for some guys. Sometimes it doesn't come at all, and then it comes late. And for him to see it happen in his last year, and then even be recognized for it in the regular season has been good.
With Anthony, what strides have you seen him make this season from last year, or maybe he wasn't as comfortable with the defense?
With Anthony, yeah. I just think he's improved. He's another year in, and he's had a good off season, and he's always been a hard, rugged player in terms of his physicality and his getting on the offensive glass. But I think he has improved his defense, and just little areas he's just gotten better, and he's become, we like to use the word continuous. He hasn't become one action and then kind of stop and wait. He seems like he's been playing. He's, banged himself up a little bit. I misspoke in the press conference. He also rolled his ankle. I thought he got just hit in his butt, but he got an ankle sprain. And I think that's what was the thing that kept him probably out a little more of the second half than that. So I didn't realize that.
He's fine going forward.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully his ankle's sore, and we'll see how he responds. But
Minus the 40-point loss at Tennessee, it seems like there were a lot of similarities between the two seasons. The record was the same, Coach of the Year, regular season champions. The fact that you entered this tournament last year off a loss at Maryland, does it become less alarming that you're entering it off a loss this year?
Well, you want your team to have to be in the toughest environments possible to prepare you for postseason play, and I think that was a real tough environment that we were in last year and this year, and I think that game, as I mentioned, showed us a few things that we need to tighten up to be as good as we can to make a run in this tournament. So, from that standpoint, I am thankful for what it showed us. We did play well enough to have a chance to win it. So I'm not alarmed. I'm not worried. I know we're going to have to play. I know we have to play well. And also we saw a few little holes that need to be. Last two games we've had trouble getting off to good starts. That's just is what it is. We've turned the ball over 33 times in the last two games. And some of our turnovers have led out to easy buckets for the other team, and those are killers for us. Louisville got in the paint pretty easy. They split our ball screen. They got by us. So if those things don't tighten up, it gets done real quick. I told our guys that, and you don't have the luxury to start that way, and you don't have you can't just sort of play your way into it. You got to be ready right from the get-go. So those are things we have to address, and we've got to be as ready as we can. But I also know our guys understand that, and that Louisville game certainly showed that. Who knows, had we won that game, if our guys would not understand it as clearly. I think we understand it clearly now. Now we have to do something about it.
We're doing a feature story on Devin Hall. Can you just
Okay.
kind of describe his role and how he's contributed to the team?
Yeah, no, Devin. Devin last year was his redshirt year, and this year he's continued to improve. He again his first year of being eligible to play has been kind of up and down. But whenever he's been called upon to fill in, whether most recently when London couldn't play after the Florida State game at Wake, I thought he did a real good job, and he's given us great lifts. He's terrific in practice. Early in the year at James Madison, those games, he's really stepped up and done a nice job. He's improved his game, his consistency, his shot, and he's only a first year. That's what I like. I like the size. He's a good guard that, brings it every day in practice, and he is one of our harder workers. I really admire that about Devin, and I think, again, it'll be just being ready when called upon the rest of this season, and then having a great off season and continue to take that next step. But the guys love him, and he's all of our guys. We have solid guys, but he's very trustworthy and shows up and works. He punches the clock and works, and I think that mindset is what's going to make him a good player.
Coach, you mentioned the turnovers briefly in the last two games. I think it's 5 of the last 7 or 5 of the last 6 in double digits for turnovers. That's the longest stretch since out of conference last season. Is there anything you can put your finger on that's going on there with the turnovers?
Well, and they've been some of them have been costly. They've been, whether it's some underneath out of bounds or press, where they've been turnovers that have led to breakout easy buckets, and those have kind of hurt. Maybe sometimes it's forcing. A couple times we tried to force the issue and got the ball raked out of our hands and going the other way, and sometimes it was just carelessness. You're in postseason play now, and this idea of, we talk about it during the regular season, but you have to value every possession. I mean, you can't, again, be hesitant. Congratulations, man. That's the one right there. So that's Coach Garland, who won the ACC championship in wrestling. We're so proud of you, man. That's awesome. It really is. Yeah, he's one of the best. Back to the turnovers. No, this was a good, diverted I didn't want to talk about turnovers. But I think it's this idea of valuing each possession. You get into postseason play, you have to have that mindset, and it's a good reminder, because we're not a team that can absorb those. We don't score in huge runs and all that, so we've got to that's going to be huge in postseason. I know that. Just like again, giving up transition buckets or just having breakdowns, but that has been frustrating. In the last game, Malcolm and London are two guys who've been real steady. Had 4 and 3. And then the game before, that's something I think that's in their control, and you can hold them. We can talk to them about that, and they'll be accountable to that.
Coach, in the back here, a lot of similarities have been drawn, like Doug was talking about, between last year's team and this year's team. But what's different? What are the different qualities about this year's team?
Believe it or not, this is a more experienced team, though we only have the one senior in Darion. But I think it's been unique this year. It's been different guys at different times. Obviously Joe had an unbelievable year, and the steadiness of Malcolm, some of these guys. But a different guy at a different time has stepped up. Sometimes we've had to score inside to win games. Sometimes it's been the outside guys. I just think we've got a little more depth when we're healthy. And having to, I think, last year, not that we came out of nowhere. I guess in a way we did, but this year they started at a pretty high spot, and they've stayed pretty steady, and that's a challenge. Having to go clench it on the road, I just think there's some little differences that were unique and good for us. But I like how they've maintained a pretty high level from start to finish when it was expected of them. And last year, after you mentioned our Tennessee game, I don't think a lot of people would have projected us winning an ACC regular season, nor myself. So, but this year I think it was talked about, and the guys hung in there and did that, which was a different perspective perhaps than last year.